Before the world knew his name, before the trophies, the fame, and the millions, there was a skinny kid who slept on the floor of a tiny house, juggling a ball made of socks, chasing a dream everyone said was impossible. They didn't see a superstar. They saw a risk, but Neymar Jr. saw a way out. Neymar da Silva Santos Jr. was born in Mogi das Cruzes, Brazil, far from the glamorous stadiums of Europe. His childhood wasn't built on luxury. It was built on tight spaces, loud streets, and constant uncertainty. His father, Neymar Sr., was a former footballer whose own career never reached the heights he dreamed of. That unfinished dream quietly passed to his son. Money was always short. At times, the family had to choose between comfort and commitment. When Neymar showed rare talent at a very young age, his father made a decision that would change everything. He chose to believe, even when there was no guarantee. Here's something most people don't know. When Neymar was still a child, there were moments when his family almost gave up football entirely. Training meant travel. Travel meant money. And money they didn't have. His father even took risky financial decisions, betting everything on one thing: his son's left foot. Neymar trained wherever he could. Concrete streets, indoor courts, crowded neighborhoods where flair wasn't optional, it was survival. That's where his signature star was born. Not in academies, but in chaos. At just 11 years old, Neymar joined Santos FC, the same club that once produced Pelé. Coaches immediately noticed something unusual. It wasn't just his dribbling, it was his fearlessness. He played like a kid with nothing to lose, because he didn't. But behind the smile and tricks, pressure was already heavy. Neymar wasn't just playing for himself. He was playing for his family's future. Failure wasn't an option, it was a threat. By his early teens, European scouts were watching. Real Madrid even offered a chance to move early. Most kids would jump. Neymar didn't. His family chose patience over pressure, growth over money. That decision would define his path. This wasn't luck. This wasn't hype. This was a slow burn, and Neymar Jr. was just getting started. By the time Neymar Jr. stepped onto the senior stage at Santos FC, expectations were already heavy. He wasn't just another academy kid. Anymore, he was being whispered about as the next great Brazilian hope. And in Brazil, that label can either build you or break you. At just 17, Neymar made his professional debut. What followed wasn't gradual growth, it was an explosion. His dribbling embarrassed defenders. His confidence irritated critics. And his joy with the ball reminded people of something Brazil thought it had lost. But fame arrived faster than maturity. Behind the scenes, pressure began to mount. Neymar was still a teenager, but he was earning more than most adults around him. Cameras followed him everywhere. Every goal was celebrated. Every mistake was magnified. Few people know this, but during his early Santos years, Neymar struggled with emotional overload. Not fear, but expectation. Everyone wanted something from him. His father became more than a parent. He became a shield, manager, negotiator, protector. That relationship was often criticized. But inside the family, it was about survival. They had seen how football dreams could collapse. They refused to let history repeat itself. On the pitch, Neymar carried Santos almost alone. He scored impossible goals, won individual awards, and led the club to the 2011 Copa Libertadores, Santos' first in nearly half a century. For many fans, that moment confirmed it. Neymar wasn't just talented, he was special. Yet with success came a dilemma. Europe was calling louder than ever. Barcelona, Real Madrid, agents, contracts, headlines. Neymar felt torn. Staying meant comfort and love. Leaving meant growth and risk. At night, he reportedly replayed matches in his head, not thinking about goals, but about whether he was ready to leave home. Critics questioned his discipline, his lifestyle, his celebrations. They said he was too flashy, too playful. But they missed something important. Neymar played with joy, because joy was how he survived pressure. It wasn't arrogance, it was armor. By the end of his Santos chapter, Neymar had become a national icon. Kids copied his hair, streets echoed his name, and Brazil believed again. But the world stage was waiting, and Neymar Jr. knew the next step would change everything. When Neymar Jr. finally left Brazil, he didn't just carry a suitcase. He carried expectations from an entire nation. In 2013, Neymar arrived at FC Barcelona, stepping into a locker room filled with legends. Lionel Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, players he once watched on television were now teammates. For the first time in his life, Neymar wasn't the star, he was part of something bigger, and that adjustment wasn't easy. Early on, Neymar struggled quietly. New country, new language, new pressure. Few people know this, but during his first months in Spain, he often stayed close to home, avoiding attention, focusing only on training. He knew one mistake could turn excitement into doubt. On the pitch, critics questioned his style. Too flashy, too risky, too Brazilian. But Barcelona didn't ask him to change who he was. They asked him to sharpen it. Slowly, Neymar adapted. His decision-making improved. His movement became smarter, and his chemistry with Messi grew into something special. Then came the turning point. In the 2014-15 season, Neymar transformed. He wasn't just entertaining, he was decisive. Goals in crucial matches, assists under pressure, and in the Champions League knockout rounds. When games demanded courage, Neymar delivered. That season, Barcelona lifted the treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and Champions League. Neymar scored in the final. At just 23, he had conquered Europe. But success came with a hidden cost. For the first time, Neymar began to feel invisible next to greatness. No matter how well he played, the spotlight always returned to Messi. Inside, a quiet question formed: would he ever truly be seen as the best if he stayed? At the same time, Brazil needed him more than ever. The 2014 World Cup on home soil had ended in heartbreak and humiliation. Neymar's injury ruled him out of the semi-final, and Brazil collapsed without him. Critics blamed the system. Fans blamed fate, but deep down, Neymar blamed himself for not being there when his country needed him most. From that moment, international tournaments stopped being games. They became burdens. By 2016, Neymar led Brazil to Olympic gold, delivering a nation from decades of frustration. He scored the final penalty. No celebration, just relief. He had proven himself to the world, but the hunger inside him wasn't gone. It was growing. And Neymar Jr. began to wonder, what if he stepped out of the shadow and into his own legacy? In 2017, Neymar Jr. made a move that shook the football world: Paris Saint-Germain. The transfer fee, $222 million, was unprecedented. Headlines screamed record-breaking. Crazy money. The world's most expensive player. But behind the numbers, there was a story most people never understood. Neymar wasn't just chasing money, he was chasing identity. At Barcelona, he had been part of a dynasty, incredible yet in the shadow of Messi. In Paris, he saw a chance to be himself fully, to carry a team, and to write his own story. The transition wasn't easy. Paris was glamorous but lonely. The spotlight burned brighter than ever. Expectations weren't just national anymore, they were global. Critics dissected his every touch. Fans celebrated, then criticized. Social media became a battlefield. Injuries added pressure, and Neymar, for the first time, faced real scrutiny for his playing style. Too theatrical, some said. Not serious enough, others claimed. Behind closed doors, Neymar worked harder than anyone realized. He trained extra hours, studied opponents, and honed his mental strength. Few saw the pain behind the goals, the sacrifices, the missed family moments, the anxiety of constant judgment. Yet there were moments of magic. PSG needed him, and he delivered. Incredible goals, mesmerizing dribbles, decisive assists. He led the team in the Champions League. Neymar wasn't just playing football. He was telling a story with every touch. But fame came with isolation. Even at the top, Neymar struggled to find true friendships. He trusted very few. Critics exploited every slip. Media portrayed him as arrogant, yet those who knew him understood a simple truth. Neymar Jr. carried the weight of being Brazil's pride, the world's attention, and his own ambitions all at once. Few people know this. Neymar often stayed up late, replaying matches in his head, analyzing every move, every decision. That obsessive self-critique kept him sharp, but also drained him emotionally. Even in the glare of lights, Neymar's journey was far from easy. Behind every highlight reel, there were nights of doubt, days of relentless training, and moments when leaving it all behind felt tempting. And yet, through every challenge, Neymar's love for the game never wavered. The ball at his feet was still his escape, his freedom, and his identity. By 2020, Neymar had cemented himself not just as a star, but as a symbol. The kid from Mogi das Cruzes, who dared to dream bigger than anyone dared to imagine. But the journey wasn't over. For Neymar Jr., the final chapters, his legacy, his impact, his place among football legends were still being written, and the world was watching. By the mid-2020s, Neymar Jr. had become more than a footballer. He was a global icon. But the journey from Mogi das Cruzes to the world stage had not been linear. Behind the flashy goals, celebrations, and social media highlights, there was a story of pain, resilience, and determination few truly understood. Injuries became a recurring challenge. Every setback could have derailed him. Tears behind closed doors, hours in rehab, and the mental battle to trust his body again, all were part of his invisible journey. Many assumed Neymar had it easy. Few knew how fragile yet relentless he had to be to stay at the top. But it wasn't just physical endurance. It was mental. Critics, rival players, and media constantly questioned his commitment, his flair, his personality. Neymar had to learn early to ignore noise and stay true to himself. That inner discipline became his superpower. Off the field, Neymar evolved into a leader. Not always loud, but inspiring. Young teammates looked up to him, not just for skill, but for the way he embraced responsibility. He knew the weight of Brazil on his shoulders. He carried it with pride and humility. There were moments when Neymar transcended football. Charity initiatives, helping young players in Brazil, promoting the sport in underprivileged communities. These were the chapters beyond goals and trophies, the unseen story that shaped his legacy. And then there were the highlights, the moments that defined him in history, scoring record-breaking goals for Brazil, leading PSG to unprecedented victories, magical performances that left millions in awe. But the true legacy of Neymar Jr. is not only measured in statistics. It lies in how he inspired millions to dream, just like he once did on the streets of Mogi das Cruzes, juggling a sockball, believing against all odds. From the young boy whose talent was questioned, to the teen carrying Santos on his back, to the star learning humility and courage in Europe, to the record-breaking icon of PSG in Brazil, Neymar Jr.'s journey is a testament. Dreams are not given, they are fought for. And the story isn't finished. Every match, every goal, every challenge adds another layer to a legacy that will echo in football history for generations. The kid who once slept in a small house in Brazil, he became a hero, a symbol, and an inspiration to the world. From zero to hero, this was Neymar Jr.